Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 687, recorded live on Monday, September 26th. I'm your host, Patrick. With me tonight, we have Arkat.
Good evening, everybody, or afternoon, or morning, as the case may be.
Yeah, a little bit of a different time for us to be recording, but hey, it's what works, so, that's what we're going with. You can blame me. My schedule, that's the problem, 100%. This week's screenshot, Arcanaverse faces off against the Hounds in the Hardcore League Season 6 in the screenshot of the week. Thanks for sending in this week's screenshot. And nice shot. Clarifying producer's note, we are recording this after this week's one came out, but I'm just kind of like ignoring Monday as a news section. So we'll talk about Monday this weekend.
Too close to press time to publish that photo.
Yeah, well, I kind of want to highlight this photo too. And look, if I use this morning's, then I won't have one. It'll be the same one on this Saturday.
There you go.
If I do a show, so save one for that one. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website at DDOcast.com. DDOcast is hosted by Cyber the awesome podcast hosting network, and shows are usually available within a few days of recording. The next show will probably be Saturday, and you can stay updated by following us on social media and our calendar there. At Twitter, or at DDOcast on Twitter is also just the best place to find me for cast updates there when I'm actually, updating regularly. So this week, what's going on? So we missed a week, so we got a couple patches, 2 patches for Update 56. We're also just going to go ahead and review Update 56 kind of in general now. Sometimes we wait a little bit longer, sometimes we don't. It's been out. We've run Temple of Elemental Evil, and it doesn't matter how long we wait to review it. I am not going to get through all of the archetypes to be able to have a coherent conversation about those. Spoiler alert, we're going to kind of like set that aside as we talk about Update 56 and not...
Well, set most of it aside, but...
I mean, we talk a little bit in the abstract, but neither Arkat nor I have run a lot of the archetypes. So, but we'll talk about Update 56, the parts we can, Temple of Elemental Evil, and whatever the hell that release was. So, yay! Well, let's jump in with the game news stuff. So since we last had a show, Crystal Cove got revamped. Yay! So what's new? Well, so they revamped kind of the unlocking system. It used to be like you had to collect treasure map pieces, and then you had to turn those in, and when the server got to a certain point, it would open, and then you could turn in your compasses. That's all gone. Kaput.
Good riddance. It was a stupid mechanic.
Well, okay. Years ago when it was really like it was the new thing, it was kind of fun to have like this server-wide goal, right? Like I did enjoy that. And I will say, like, kind of on that note, I also enjoyed, if you remember when Vision of Destruction and Hound of Zoriat released
The original ones or the
original ones?
The legendary. Okay, the original ones. Oh, sure, with the tent destroying and all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, the tent was right, but then there was these raids, and it was they were unlocked by server by running other raids. I don't know if you remember that.
No, I don't. Do go on.
Well, so what happened was that they stuck bits in different raids, and the server as a whole had to turn in bits from each raid that was there at the time other than Abbott. They didn't include Abbott in this. It's like Vault of Night, Demon Queen, I think Shroud, Weaver's Fate, and when the server as a whole turned all those pieces in, all of them in, then it was unlocked. And so
what were the pieces? Do you remember?
They were just like runes. They were just like a number of runes for running the raid.
Okay.
Or a rune, or something. I don't remember the exact numbers or anything. But it was this fun, like, little competition, and the devs were really fun to watch too, because the devs, it kind of became clear for a hot minute which server which devs were on, because they were cheering on their servers. And and I want to say this could be the wrong person. I feel like it was Flimsy. It might have been Flimsy Firewall. One of the devs posted a picture accusing one of the other servers of cheating and had photoshopped in backhoes.
Oh, okay.
So, but it was a lot of fun thing. So I kind of like the idea of like a server wide team goal as kind of a fun little thing.
It's fine if you're
It's
going to compete against other servers, but with this old Crystal Code mechanic, you weren't competing really against anybody. It was just
no, and once after the first time when like everyone was doing it, like it always was like they kept having to reduce the number of
yes,
pieces to put in, right? And so it was just it was clear that that mechanic needed to go away. Um,
indeed.
so that's gone. Uh, so how you get compasses, right? That whole like outdoor area there, I think is gone just as well. You will get treasure compasses and also doubloons, although not in super high numbers, when defeating special champions that appear in dungeons. This has become a normal thing now, right? We have this with Night Revels and the new winter event where they have special champions and you find them and kill them and they give you a chest and then you can get some stuff relevant to the event out of it, right? Super common. Um, the copper, silver, gold doubloons, and treasure compasses can now sometimes appear in chests throughout the game while the event is active. Not that I've played a ton since this one active, but I haven't seen any outside of those special chests. I also may not have been paying attention. Pirate's Grog no longer references map pieces and offers the chance for enemies to drop doubloons when defeated throughout the game while the event is active. I've actually heard that that's pretty effective if you pick the right quests with a lot of mob counts. We'll talk about Temple of Elemental Evil later.
Yeah, like Temple of Elemental Evil, or what's the
Slavers.
other one? Slavers, yeah.
Yeah, slave lords. I think was I saw someone mentioning that was working really well. Um, Other than that, the event is the same. Like the mechanics of the event are more or less the same. It's just how you get those pieces and unlock. It's just open now. You just need the compasses, I believe.
Yeah.
So you don't have to.
All you need are the compasses,
Yeah,
and the awful thing about this is that so if you're in like a regular dungeon and you get one of these special chests and there's always some sort of doubloons in it, but there may be a treasure compass in it.
right.
Treasure compass are bind to character, and that really annoys the crap out of me. I mean, you can buy bound to account compasses from the store, but any treasure compasses you find in any of those treasure chests are bound to character. And so if you're TRing and you're hot on just advancing your character, getting into to get to the cap or whatever, you're not really super interested in running the event. So those compasses are essentially worthless to you. So it's
Yeah,
kind of annoying.
yeah. That was a poor choice for them to be bound to character. Add to the list of things like the horses, the mounts that you get from the daily dice being bound to character. Like
Yeah,
lame.
yeah, that was lame too.
Yeah, that needs to change. Bound to account for thing. If it comes out of daily dice, it needs to be bound to account.
Yes.
Period. Or not bound. That's fine too. Bound to character, terrible choice.
Yeah,
Like,
like the Joseph, the little mini scarecrow. That's not bound to anybody. You can,
nope.
and if you are lucky enough to get one of those from a gold roll, you can sell those on the auction house. You could put it. I guess you could put it in the platinum one if you want, but I've seen them one or two in the crystal or in the
Oh,
shard auction
oh
house.
yeah.
So, I mean, it seems to me the only way that I'm going to get one of those horses is if they change their mind and make those unbound, and then maybe somebody can put them on the auction house. Because I'm not a VIP and I don't foresee myself becoming a VIP again, so I'll never have access to the to
Yeah.
that horse, that hellhound that doesn't have all the crap all over it.
Yeah,
I would love to have that one.
I don't understand why the horses are bound to a bound just in general. Like maybe the ones that you buy in game, like from the store, fine. But Yeah, I don't understand why the ones from the daily dice are bound.
It
Seems
isn't like
weird.
there's going to be a lot of them flooding the market out there.
Oh. And look, even if people are like, "Oh no, people are buying a bunch of astral shards to get them and sell them," that's it's not like that's a effective way of making shards. Like you
It
would,
seems like they're cutting their off their noses despite their faces
yeah,
there.
like
I mean,
make the horses. I mean, I don't even understand why the ones from Keep on the Borderlands are bound, right? Like that's not doesn't seem necessary to me for
no.
those to be bound in any way, shape, or form. I don't know what. Maybe it has to do with like how the item is made or something. I don't know. It just seems weird. In any case, we'll get back on track. Update 56, patch 1. So this is released Wednesday, September 14th. Bunch of bug fixes. Corrected an issue that could cause game client to hang when entering or leaving a dungeon.
Boy, that's real specific.
Note, an issue. Not all of the issues that could cause the client to hang.
Yeah,
An issue.
exactly.
I mean, I don't mind that it's vague. They could look. Here's the thing: they could probably like explain this a lot more. And I've seen Linabel actually explain some of these a lot more, and it's just like, cool. I didn't understand any of that.
Well, you know what, Patrick? They could release two versions of the notes. They could release, the too long didn't read versions of the notes, like kind of like these, and then they could, release
Mhm.
another version that would be available to somebody. Hey, if you're interested in, what the problem was, if you like that kind of thing, well, check out these release notes or these bug fixes, and I think that would satisfy the itch of a technical person like me,
Sure.
a lot better than these, really, really vague and unspecific,
Uh-huh.
notes.
So my question though with that would be, would you rather them spend the time doing that, or would you rather them spend the time that they aren't to stop having massive problems with their releases?
Oh, of course, I would rather have them, bug-free releases, of
Yeah.
course, no doubt.
Yeah.
But but
No, I think
they really need. They could hire somebody to is basically put all these things together and make a short version and make a long version. I mean, but your point is well taken, and you're right. I would rather them spend more time on actually fixing bugs.
let's see. Dark apostate spells that take damage boosting meta magic feats now correctly scale with those. Probably good. Uh, some Storm Stinger stuff. They should now see the correct spell list when swapping out spells. Probably be helpful. The Eye of the Storm proc now lasts longer. The Core 5 now has its stun proc working correctly. Unlocked favor upgrades now persist through Lesser and Epic Reincarnation, but continue to not persist through True Iconic Reincarnation. Which is
Well,
how
yeah.
it should. Like they're not supposed to. Well, hang on. This is probably about the like the Vistani and which are supposed to persist. That's probably what they're talking about.
Oh,
So
right. Okay. Right.
because there are
Gotcha.
some that are supposed to persist, right? So that maybe what we're talking about there. Um, spoiler alert. Not the last time we're going to talk about reincarnation problems. Uh, yeah. House J's favor buffs no longer take 10 times the amount of gold when asked for with the Give Me the Works. The Doom spell once again deploys its debuff. Invisibility no longer causes your display's movement speed to fluctuate.
I've never seen that. I have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah, it's one of those like, okay, good. What? How?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Um, it says like displays movement speed. Like it doesn't sound like it actually affected your movement speed. So maybe look like you were running slower than but moving super fast. That'd be kind of fun.
Okay.
Salt Ray now does the correct damage and considered an offensive spell. Also, it's a randomized cooldown when cast by enemies to prevent overly stunning players, and it will only stun players for 3 seconds. Gust of Wind now properly works against players again, but has had its knockdown duration lowered to 4 seconds against players, and its slow effect to 6 seconds against players, and enemies will now cast it on a longer cooldown. Great. It
Thanks.
it is annoying when those things like you get chain CC'd. Very
Right.
much so. Hate that.
Chain knockdowns are the worst.
Oh, they're so annoying, right?
Yeah.
So that's good. I do kind of wonder, like, maybe we should be doing some of that on some other as well. Look, it doesn't solve the problem for when you're getting hit by like 4 of them at the same time, right? So, like 4 guys doing the same thing at the same time, that's a drag.
Right.
Let's see. Where are we? Gaining.
Gust of wind
Yep, gaining strike.
after.
Gaining strike through a temporary method no longer removes your ability to get strike through once temporary method wears off. Probably good.
That's good.
Whirlwind now does its intended 2W on each hit, and now properly hits those behind you. Shirari Champion's pin attack now properly scales with attack speed. However, while using this with thrown weapons, the attack is now faster than it was prior to this patch, but still slower than it should be. This is due to a thrown weapon animation issue they tend to correct in the future. I mean, yes, please fix this in the future. However, when is future at this point? Is my question.
Yeah.
When did they change bows? Wasn't that like was that last year? Or was that earlier this year?
No, I think it was last year.
It feels like it's been a while since that happened.
Yeah.
So what's going on here, guys? Fix the thrown weapons now. Shirari's pin now uses current animations and number of projectiles in all range styles.
Good.
Yeah. Path of Light is no longer exclusive with other religions, and players can no longer multi-class without losing the feat. Okay. Probably good. Crystal Cove is here. We talked about that. Temple of Elemental Evil stuff. Several elemental nodes now have additional optional objectives. Some random encounters have been thinned in the elemental nodes.
Yeah, I'd sure like to know which ones those were.
We'll get there. First level, the Ballisto no longer slows targets it hits. You can survive it. That's good to know. The lower temple complex, note has been added at the start to give additional direction to the air temple quarters.
Hey, PJ, can I just interrupt real quick?
Yeah.
Is the Temple of Elemental Evil changes, were these in one of the patches, or were they from 56?
Patch 1.
Okay, so we haven't talked about the actual, fact that most like the Temple Elemental Evil has been divided up into a lot of smaller subparts.
That was in the I'm not going through the release notes for 56 because we already did that. That might
Okay, so that was in 56, not
yes.
Okay,
right.
Gotcha.
These are changes to
since then.
10-4. And we, for the additional clarity, because we did Temple of Elemental for Kasplat, which we'll talk about when we talk about our thoughts in general, but we did the Earth and Air Temple before 56.1. We did Fire and Water after 56.1. So after the random encounters were thinned in the elemental nodes. So for whatever that's worth.
Okay.
See, the Water Temple key encounter has had its difficulty adjusted. That's the cube.
That's the cube. Okay.
Yep. And yeah, and they actually made, when they redid the quest too, they made it, that encounter, the room bigger, so the cube didn't just land on you.
Just problem. Eat you without you being able to
still
do
eats
nothing.
You, but
yeah.
But
at least you can get away from it now.
Yeah, there's part of the room is not inside the cube when it spawns.
Right.
The end fight elementals now count towards monster manual. Jotun Rhineblade will no longer fall into the water as easily. The Garistro has had its correct CR on hit points on legendary difficulty. Temple Harpies now properly count in the monster manual as generic harpies. Seems kind of weird that they be generic, but whatever.
Hey, would they be like elemental harpies or something?
You would think. I mean, far be it for me to say that I fully understand how the monster manual works and the naming and stuff works, but I kind of assume that if it has a unique name, it's a unique entry in the monster manual.
Right.
I guess that's not true? Question mark?
Who knows?
Yeah. Monsters that spawn in the Zuggit fight can no longer be champions.
That's a good thing. That's a really good thing.
Which I believe should have been true when we ran it. And
Yes.
Earthquake was also removed from Zugget Moy's spell list. Good, because
Yeah, another chain knockdown issue there.
casting Earthquake in an area where you have to get to a specific point to survive. Butthead move. I mean, I don't hate it. It's just a butthead move. Okay, so update 56, patch 2 was released Thursday, September 22nd. They fixed some bugs with Crystal Cove. So level 31 and 32 characters will now spawn the appropriate level enemies in Smuggler's Rest. Very important.
Mm-hmm.
You now get the correct gem drops on 36 plus. They have level 4 Crystal Cove weapons no longer accept sentience. First of all, how did that happen? Second of all, who figured that out?
It was actually relatively obvious if you were just looking at them in the list of stuff, that you could trade, in the box, in Euphonia's box. You could see them in there,
Did it say accept sentience on it or something?
It's absolutely. It was pretty obvious.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious. Progenitor crystals now properly appear in the 36 and 37 Cove challenge. If you haven't done Crystal Cove in a while, the progenitor crystals are like bigger ones. They give you a lot of bonuses, but they can't use a teleporter while they have it. They have to run the whole way back.
Yep.
And that's actually something that was added to when they increased the level the last time, I think. Like, that's not a new change.
No.
Missing items from shared bank accounts have now been returned to players. However, the items are now in the main tab of your shared bank account rather than any custom tab you have created. Note that this fix required a change that sent all items in players' custom tabs back to their main tab. They apologize for the inconvenience. Okay, so this is the one that was... This is the problem that was before this Thursday. We'll talk about the problems of this Thursday's patch. We're not there yet. I promise, it's coming. It'll be great. This was the previous one. So there were issues where if it was in your account, in your bank, and you tried to go from one tab to another tab without going to your inventory, it disappeared.
Yes.
That should now have been fixed. It didn't go away. It just was hidden from you. But that is back. I think that's working. You can move stuff from one tab to another.
I think it is working. Yes, I think so.
Other than reincarnation cache, we'll get there. Items that are not marked as sentient but still have a sentient jewel in them may still be accessed via the sentient panel to remove the jewel and filigrees. These items also have a minimum level 20 as long as the jewel remains slotted. See the previous comment about level 4 Crystal Cove weapons taking sentience.
Yeah, you know what? I am not convinced that is actually the case, because I've got one of those level 4 items. It's sitting in my bank, not my shared bank, but one of my characters' banks, and it's still level 4. It's got a gem in it. I put experience. I had it to eat a level 29 item so that it could put experience, so it has experience in it. And I did it for both. It in both one of those level 4 items and also the Bone Crusher quarterstaff, that level 18 thing. And I've got sentient gems with some experience, and they're still level 4 and level 18. So I don't know. I haven't taken it out of the bank because I have a feeling that if I do that, it's going to switch it over. So back into level 20 or whatever. But I'm not convinced that that's actually the case, that it's actually been fixed.
Wouldn't be the first time that you had to take it out of your bank and then log out and log in with it to fix it.
Yeah.
So that's certainly an option. Temple of Elemental Evil, the Blue Dragon Twins and the Air Node now count in their appropriate monster manual. See them.
No.
Wands are now bound to account from there. Woohoo.
Hardly worth the release note, but okay.
They're hardly worth the spot in the loot list.
Yes.
Sacred Fist toggle now no longer works when uncentered. I'm assuming that's the extra damage on your fists. Divine Disciples Transcendent Darkness is now back in its proper place. Necrotic Bolt, Slay has correct tooltip. and had several of its icons fixed. Cleric Domain of Magic now correctly grants a bonus to spell power equal to twice your cleric level for 20 seconds. I assume that's when you use a turn? Not positive on that. The Mantle of Fury now persists through logout. The item? I assume that's the item?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or is this the mantle from Fury of the Wild?
I don't know.
Oh,
you know what? It's probably what it is.
Yep. Stormsinger and Spellsinger's Sonic Blast SLA now has correct tooltip. And erroneously displayed DC has been removed from Key Bolt. Let's see. Stormsinger's inspirations are properly removed upon entering and exiting a dungeon. And their freeze proc no longer has an erroneous saving throw. Vistani Knife Fighters Whirling Blades now grants its proper double shot. There was apparently some Radiant Servant Cleric version text that referenced Paladin levels. Oops. Dinosaur Bone crafting augments that boost negative and poison spell power now correctly say so in their tool tips. Cool. Might have to go back and look at some of those. Fate Arc Illusionist's familiar bonuses now persist through deck.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, they made it so the familiar was there, but would stay, but the bonuses didn't.
Oh, I see. Okay. I was going to say I don't see what the big deal is about having to resummon your familiar, but okay.
I mean, it's annoying. I've definitely had the part where like I get myself back up and I haven't finished turning things back on, and I get hit with a bunch of magic missiles.
Right.
It hurts. Let's see. Typos were corrected in Apostate's past life. Dark Apostate stances are no longer dispelled through rage. Usually it's the other way around. Usually rage dispels... stances dispel rage, not rage dispelling stances. That's kind of funny.
Right.
Shadow Blades. Oh, boy. We'll come back to that. Skin Tight Gloves no longer drop with Cloak Mythic bonuses. The Night Singer's Mantle no longer blinds friends. Players can now move items from the character bank to their shared bank and from a tab of one kind to another as long as the item binding rules allow it. Great. Okay, Shadow Blades. Shadow Blades screwed everything up. That's the short version. The note was that they dissipate when leaving a dungeon and will also no longer get stuck in your reincarnation cache, preventing true reincarnation. Yeah, so that didn't stick. It caused massive problems, actually. But, I'm not sure how I feel about the dissipate when leaving the dungeon. Like, that feels really onerous. Like, I'd rather them dissipate when I log out. Which I think is what they may have done, but like this, like the problem sticking in the reincarnation cache is an issue. But casting every time you go in a dungeon, that's kind of a pain in the ass. Okay, so what happened? 56 have had problems, just in general. Let's get that out of the way. So we've already kind of covered the missing items, and they fixed that. When Update 56.2 launched, the worlds came down after, we didn't talk about this before. We were trying to figure out how much time the rollback was. We didn't account for how long they were back up. I don't think it was very long. Maybe an hour.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So there was a bug that was causing items removed from reincarnation cache to just go missing. Which, if you know people who reincarnate, that scares the crap out of them and me, right? Like the whole.
Well, there's already problems with people losing things through true reincarnation. Anyway, I've lost a fully upped light repeating crossbow for my gnome character. It was legendary green steel, fully upgraded. I lost that, and I that's only like that. I've only lost very, very few things. Maybe because I reincarnate
a lot.
Very much, not very often.
Yeah.
So maybe I would have seen more, and it would have been a bigger deal to me. But there are people that are legitimately freaking out.
Well, look, there's a history with reincarnation of like people losing their entire inventories.
Hmm.
and tomes and everything, right? Like their
Yes,
character ends
tomes.
up in this
Yes.
just terrible place. Uh, this was you would pull an item out and then it would go away. You would lose it. They sent out an initial message. I think it was like a half an hour before the message that the worlds were coming down to not interact with your reincarnation cache. I don't understand why there was a half an hour between those two events. Like,
Sometimes, it's weird. Sometimes they'll give you 30 seconds notice. Sometimes, like in this time, they'll give you 30 minutes notice. I don't think there's a rhyme or reason as to what what the standards are as far as how much notice they give.
well, I'm just talking about like if people report like the point where SSG is knows that there's a problem enough to put out a message that says don't interact with your reincarnation cache.
You would
Like,
think they would just yank turn the
right.
servers off immediately.
Here's your 2-minute warning. We're turning off the servers.
Yes.
Why are we leaving the servers up for another half an hour for people to pull stuff out of their cache and lose it?
Right.
Like that, because people aren't going to see that message to not interact with their reincarnation cache. Not to mention the fact that people are already in the world, so they're not going to see that when they're logging in, right? Because they're already logged in. So you're going to have a whole host of people that are going to be interacting with the reincarnation cache that aren't going to see that message to not do it. So you're just going to lose more items. Now, they rolled back, which we'll get to. Like, so I don't know if they like changes anything in the long run. I just understand why you leave it there for that long. You don't have half an hour is not a ton of time, but it still seems kind of weird to me that you don't do something to prevent people from, but more concretely to prevent people from taking stuff out of the reincarnation cache, as opposed to don't do it, guys. It's gonna be bad, right? Like, kind of
Yeah.
weird. So the servers came down. They were down all the rest of the day Thursday, and didn't come up until Friday morning, afternoon ish. Not
I
actually
want to
entirely
say it was
sure.
later in the afternoon. It
Yeah,
was like around like 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock my time, so that would have been early afternoon Eastern, East
yeah.
Coast time.
So what happened? So this is the what Cordovan wrote about this. Today's versioning fix for Shadow Blades being stuck in some banks introduced a new bug that affected anyone who tried to remove something from their reincarnation cache when they first logged in. Caused two problems. One, some items would seemingly disappear. These items are actually still with you, but are stuck in old bank space, whatever that is. Once the items got stuck in old bank space, you get error messaging from that point forward when trying to use your bank in general. So they fixed both of these issues. However, they had to disable the Shadow Blades fix, and they had the ability. They had to remove the ability to move items directly from the reincarnation cache into another bank space. So for now, TR cache items will have to go into your inventory first. They'll eventually correct these issues, but for now, they're focusing on getting the servers up tonight, which didn't happen. They apologize for the downtime. The game rules were rolled back to about 4 a.m. Eastern on Thursday, September 22nd. The servers went down or for the update at 9 a.m. And we think they were up for about an hour. So you're looking at about 6-ish hours of rollback time. Congratulations to those of you on hardcore who lost your character in that 6-hour window and had them revived. Condolences to those of you who got 300 favor in that time and have to redo it. They also completed work to correct the issue that caused items to go missing, so no further item loss should happen. So then there was the rollback.
PJ, can I just talk about the
Go for
rollback
it.
real quick? I'm a systems guy, and the very fact that they had to roll back from a save that was done at 4 a.m. instead of the save that was done right before the actual implementation of the patch, so bring down the servers, do a backup. I mean, it's what they should have done. I mean, it did, I would really, I would really like to take their systems people to task, because, it these days backups are I don't think a backup is as big a deal. I mean, it isn't like we're backing up on tape anymore. And so an online backup, from a hard drive to a very large RAM disk, or other SSD type drives, wouldn't take very long. So this is something that should be standard practice, especially for games like this, where you would want to have the absolute latest backup before you introduce a patch, because and they paid for it this time. I mean, this was ill-advised, and whoever is in charge of SSG or EG7 should essentially have a nice little long chat with the IT director, SSG's IT director, or systems operations manager, and say, hey, listen, this can't happen again. Take the time, get a backup, and before you put out a patch. And I bet you, I guarantee, if this happens again, that the rollback will be to just right before they actually, took down the servers.
I mean, counterpoint, this is not the first time that there's been an issue with a rollback like that. I mean, there
That's
was
true.
Wayfinder got rolled back like 3 weeks.
Yeah, their backup was corrupted. It wasn't any
Yeah.
good.
So, I mean, they're lucky that that was Wayfinder, because if that was another server, that
Oh, if it was
could have
like
had.
Arganeson or Sarlona or
I
something.
mean,
Oh
any
boy.
other server with Wayfinder has such a smaller population compared to the rest of the servers that I think they kind of dodged a bullet a little bit. If that had been any other server, I think you see people leave in droves.
Yeah.
Um, look, like, this is something that we do for fun, but there's a progress to it, and the progress is one of the things that's fun about it for most
Mhm.
people, I think. Right. So if you lose progress like that, then especially over a long period of time, right, that's a concerning thing. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about like 5 or 6 hours. Like, that's not too bad in my mind. Also, like, we're talking about hours that I don't play, so like it didn't
Right.
actually affect me. But I mean, there's got to be people out there that had, hey, I got this thing that I've been trying to get for forever, and now I lost it because of a rollback. That's super frustrating.
Sure. Sure. And what they did to compensate the folks on Wayfinder, they actually gave them auto boxes. And the folks here, this particular rollback, I think they gave them like an extra 5%, I don't know,
Well, so
+5 treasure finding or something.
here was the bonuses that they implemented through September 25th, which was plus 25% heroic and epic XP, 25% guild renown, and a +5 treasure hunter boost. Which, I mean, how much of that is like you're trying to mitigate the fact that we lost the time to play, but also the time played in that rollback time period.
Mhm.
Um,
Of course, the hardcore
I
people got nothing, and rightly so. They were right.
right,
But if I were a hardcore player, I would be extremely annoyed.
yeah, rightfully so. I think. I look. I'm glad they did something. The biggest critique I think I have with this is not so much the bonuses, it's the time. I saw a lot of people. It's like, I don't play on weekends, right? Or my weekend is Thursday, Friday. And so you brought these bonuses in to, hey, we're sorry you couldn't play during this time frame, but that's not a time frame that I can play that you're giving me the bonuses. So
What they should have done, Patrick, is they should have given everybody like 2 6-hour 50% experience potions. That would have that way the people who don't play on the weekends can still get the extra experience when they play during the week.
yeah, we could do that. I was gonna say, like, maybe lower the bonuses a little bit, but have it last a whole week.
That would be acceptable too.
Right, like if the bonus was 15% heroic and epic XP, but it was a whole week.
Yeah, that would have been good. That would have been nice.
So that you can get those, capture those, but yeah, like it has to capture. It has to do a better job of capturing the time frame that people are playing, because like some people don't play like it. The time frame didn't really impact me. I could have played Thursday night for a couple hours, but I mean, there's plenty of people that don't. That this was like the bulk of their playtime, right? And they couldn't play because of that. And the bonus is on the weekend, and now it's impacting people who. I mean, it's always going to impact people who didn't get affected by it, but it's just like it needs to do a better job of accounting for the fact that this is the time that was lost, and people that got impacted by it didn't get the benefit of these because they can't do it on the weekend, right?
Right.
Now that's always going to be the case, right? Like I don't think you can capture everybody in that scenario. There's always going to be someone falling through the cracks of like, oh, I went on vacation that next day, and didn't come back for a week and a half or whatever. Like that's always going to happen, but so there's that. But you can get into the bonuses too, right? Heroic and Epic XP, the Guild Renown, Treasure Hunters boost, right? Okay, so like that's a good start, I would say, but there's a bunch of other things that don't necessarily account for that, right? In the sense that Reaper XP is not boosted here. Chance to get named items isn't boosted here. And in any case, like it doesn't matter what percentage boost you give me, right? Like I know that item I just finally got after 5 years of farming it ain't gonna drop again for me in that time frame.
Yeah,
Like,
you get a sword of shadow, or
I
the
saw a post that
shard of the
someone did.
sword of shadow. Yeah,
Someone had a Sword of
yeah,
Shadow.
that would have just killed me.
Yep.
That would have just killed me if I had lost something like that.
Yeah, it hurts, right? Like it sucks. So I look, I understand things happen, and this is a video game, right? So this is not. I'm gonna have a lot higher level of care for things happen if we're talking about medical procedures than playing
Right.
a video game, right?
Got to
Like
keep things in perspective. I know
yeah,
exactly what you're saying.
like if I wake up from a medical procedure and say, "Oh, so sorry, we got to open you up again because we left a tool in there,"
Or we took the
or
wrong kidney.
yeah, that happens. Um, right, like there's levels of magnitude here that are a lot less concerning to me and whatnot. But at the same time, it's like, okay, things happen, but every release with this, right? Like every 56, 56.1, 56.2 has had major problems with the bank and reincarnation system,
Mhm.
right?
There's
Culminating
a
in
common
this.
theme here.
Mm-hmm. And I'm a fairly positive guy, and I've been accused more than once of having too positive an outlook for hosting the show and not, taking SSG to task more and stuff. But like at this point, SSG is just like every update, guys, is like having to fix major things.
Yeah.
I won't out him on the show, but I saw someone that I know made a comment on the forums. Someone it was a reply. Someone had said, why doesn't the QA department do a better job with this? And I saw someone the response was, we did. As soon as it went live, we figured it out.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I saw that comment as well. That was great.
And it so perfectly encapsulates the feeling of so many players right now.
Yes.
Like, what is going on with QA? Like, do they need more? Not have enough people? Is it not enough time? Like, what the hell, right? Like something. This has been a bad year for QA and for stuff coming out. Like, this is not the first time we're having these conversations about releases and problems with releases. I know this because I'm really frustrated with it at this point, and this one didn't even impact me because I wasn't really here for it. But it's like my faith is gone. And my faith in this has been pretty robust.
Yeah, yeah. It just seems like that they're just putting out these updates at a very frenetic pace, and I can't really say what the real issue is, but it just feels like to me, PJ, that the staff that the SSG staff is being pushed and being pushed very hard, and when you go and you just emphasize, we got to get it done, got to get it out, got to get it done, got to get it out. You're just asking for there to be bugs and mistakes, and I don't know what's turned that way. I can say that maybe it's EG7's fault for putting too much pressure on SSG. I don't know, but it's sheer speculation on my part. But that's just what it feels like to me.
Yeah, and we're kind of loud. We have a test server. Seems to me like, I mean, look, you're not gonna catch everything because there's gonna be a lot less people whacking at it.
Right.
But we put the bank thing on the test server before, and then it didn't happen because a lot of people hated it. But I mean, I don't understand how you went through that process before, where you put it up and people looked at it, and actually, I think maybe I don't know, but like, it needs more. Something needs to cook longer here, right? Like, this is not. We're gonna keep losing people if this is a continuing problem.
Yeah, it seems like instead of 4 updates a year, maybe we should just dial it back to 3 updates a year. And I'd be fine with that, frankly, if it means that these updates were, you know, 100, I wouldn't say 100% better, but at least 90% better. A lot of these bugs could be caught in that extra month of development time, I suspect.
I mean, let me give you a counterpoint, an idea. More frequent updates, smaller.
Go ahead.
So instead of having these 3 big updates, right? Like, give stuff the time it needs, and when it's ready, release it. Right? Like, what would it look? I think SSG would actually be in a better place if they just said, okay, every month, like first Wednesday of the month, we're gonna do an update. Not to say that we won't do updates other times, but we're just gonna have a rolling up. Like, we know we're gonna have an update at this time. If you're having it every month, right? You're not stressing about like, oh well, we didn't get the bank thing done this month. Q&A didn't pass it. It still has some issues. It can wait another month. It's fine. Like, why are we pigeonholing ourselves into having these 4 big updates and trying to get everything into these time frames? Whereas if you spread that workload out, just when it's ready, it's ready. Let's release it when it's ready, or at least some of the stuff, right? Look, adventure packs and new features and like, they don't necessarily, they can be grouped together, sure, but like, new bank thing, like, that's not a part of any update. It doesn't. No one 5 years from now, no one is going to be able to look back and say, what update did this come out in?
Yeah,
What
it's
adventure
not going
pack
to be
did it
part of
come
the
out with?
marketing strategy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, you're not linking this to anything. Who cares what
Yeah.
update when it comes out? Release it when it's ready. And, some of these things that are kind of ancillary, like the bank changes, just QA it when you have time and release it more often. Like, bug fixes and stuff, just release them more often as they come in, right? Why are we holding on to bug fixes for 3 months? I mean, I know we're generally not, but like, if we knew there was going to be an update every Wednesday, players would get over that, right?
Mhm.
Like, and you could release a bunch of these smaller. I mean, we just run through 2 sets of release notes. They came 2 weeks apart. And look at all the stuff that was in those that was bug fixes that were small little things. If they weren't trying, but most of that stuff, if they weren't trying to fix like the character bank, a bunch of that stuff wouldn't even come out yet, right? It'd be coming out in a month and a half from now, whenever the next update is, and Night Revels comes out or whatever.
I guess my question would be, it's an interesting idea, PJ, but do you have an example of other online games, similar to DDO that do that?
No,
And
I don't play
if
other
you
online
do, are they
games.
successful?
I don't play other online games like
Neither
DDO.
do I. So that's why I'm asking, because it's an intriguing idea, and if it actually works, I would certainly like to hear about it.
We're just looking at it from the standpoint of like, okay, clearly there's a QA problem. Well, if you're trying to
Yes.
dump all of this stuff on QA at the end, right? Now, granted, it probably wouldn't necessarily solve this problem or something. I don't know, but like this one specifically, but I don't see how it. I don't see what we're gaining from piling this stuff up into larger releases when it doesn't need to be, right? Okay, sure, the revamping Temple of Elemental Evil and the archetypes at the same time, sure, that makes sense, right? Like you're packaging an update and sure, fine, whatever, right? I don't
But
think it's
UI
really necessary, but
changes and things and bank changes. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Okay.
like
Yeah.
even even the archetypes in Temple of Elemental Evil, right? Like that to me is things is like they could be released separately. No one would care. They're not really related. The fact that the update 56 is called Archetypes and Arc Villains is like okay.
Yeah, that's sheer marketing fluff right there.
Yeah, it's whatever. But like they're like I said, there's expansions, big thing together. Yeah, sure, that makes sense. But like content and these UI changes and stuff, like I think I kind of wonder if SSG would have fewer problems, specifically with QA, if they were releasing stuff more consistently and in smaller chunks. I assume the QA people are like testing things right now for things down the road and then signing off on it, but I don't know. Look, I'm not a QA person. I don't know how QA really works other than this vague idea of go hit it with a hammer until it breaks, and if it doesn't break, you're good. But
See, I would think that the devs would say, okay, QA, we made some changes regarding, I don't know, the Temple of Elemental Evil and specifically mob sizes. I want you to go in and test and see if you can notice the difference in the size of mobs or something. Give the devs give a QA an idea of what was changed and to see if they can, you know, see if the changes were actually good changes or whatever.
and the other thing too is when we're talking about the problems with things coming out and having massive halo effects, right? I would think if you're releasing fewer things, you have less chance of halo effects that you can't figure out how they're caused.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point.
So, like, I don't know. There's my 2 cents on how to change the QA department at SSG or make their lives easier or something. I don't know. Anyways,
Or in the words of the that one forum poster, to make our lives easier.
sure. I mean, hell, even if you just said like clearly like, look, we recognize our QA department doesn't have the ability, like we're not doing as robustly as we'd like to do. Hey guys, just the first 5 hours, don't do anything important. Go hit it with hammers.
Well, I made a post this morning, and the title of the post was "Pro Tip," and I essentially said, listen, these major updates, or even the smaller ones, don't do anything like TRing for a few days. Let the dust settle before you do anything with your reincarnation cache or whatever,
Uh-huh.
because it's just not worth taking the chance of losing your items, just because you want to get your TR started, as soon as the worlds come up. That just seems silly to me.
Don't be one of the first 100 people to TR after any update.
Exactly.
Also, on that note, look, they're going to keep futzing with the bank for a while. I think that's pretty clear.
Yes.
Every time they do that, I think we can expect that any items you have in tabs are going to be dumped into your main tab.
Yeah, don't waste your
So
time with tabs right now. Just leave it
yeah,
alone.
not to mention the fact that seems to be where some of the problems.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyways, hey, bonus days. We mentioned the stuff that's already over, the oopsie bonuses. Dito bonus days plus 10% VIP XP through September 28th. Got a full week of that, so that's pretty nice. Oh my night.
Yeah, if you're a VIP, it's awesome.
True. Yeah. Store news. Finders Keepers get 25% off of Sentient and Jewelers Toolkits. Loot boosts through September 29th. And the coupon code is a free lasting potion of jumping plus 20 times 5. The coupon code is Jump Boost. That's a great freebie for hardcore.
Okay.
Posting, look, jumping is hard on hardcore. You gotta remember, you don't have tomes and like a whole ton of skill points usually, unless you're like really breaking the bank on buying some stuff.
Homes, yeah.
Like your jump skill is gonna be less good.
Less good.
Reed, playing a favored soul with a shield half the time, like my jump is shit. You better believe I'm putting those potions
Family
on
program, BJ. Family program.
Yeah, I'm PG-13 has always been my, I'm allowed
Okay.
one of those, at least one of those in a show. Anyway, so there you go. That's the news stuff. I can produce it at the same time I can talk. So it's Lightning Post stuff. Greg wrote in, and this was about our last show. Says you really want free Epic XP like they're doing with Legendary. This is in reference to the idea that when you reincarnate, you would not use up your Epic XP. No, you need to work for it. Why not make 1 to 20 for free since those levels are obsolete? Sorry, but that statement just seems like you want to level for free without the work. Okay, first of all, yes, I want to level for free without the work. Let's get that out of the way. Full stop.
I think we all want that.
Yeah, right.
Well, at least those of us who've been playing the game for almost 17 years.
Yeah. Okay, but hear me out here. So it's talking about like, why not make 1 to 20 free since those levels are obsolete? Okay, if I do an epic reincarnation, I don't have to level 1 to 20.
So they're already doing it.
They're already doing it for heroic. They're already doing it for legendary. The only XP that you spend on a reincarnation that you don't get back for a different reincarnation is epic XP when you true reincarnate, either iconic or heroic or racial, right? You do a true reincarnation, you lose your epic XP.
Yep.
It is the only XP you lose not actually doing that reincarnation. Now, I will accept the idea that, if I do an iconic, maybe I should have to spend my epic XP, maybe. But like if I do an epic reincarnation, I don't have to work for 1 to 20. So I understand where Greg's coming from, like but I think there's also an understanding there of like, I do an epic reincarnation, I don't have to level 1 to 20. So if I'm doing a true reincarnation without doing an epic reincarnation, why am I spending my epic XP?
Yep.
Well, thanks for writing in, Greg. It's a fair question to ask. I forgot to put the camera back on. Whoopsie. All right. I can produce things. So let's talk about Update 56. A little bit more kind of reviewy style. I don't think we really need to talk too much more about the problems it's had, unless there's something else you want to add in there. But
No, I think we've beat that dead horse. So
yeah, covered it pretty good.
Let's let SSG off the canvas a little bit here.
Although I do have a little bit of bone to pick. This is Dungeons & Dragons. Like, I feel like you could pick a more interesting animal to beat dead than a horse. in honor of hardcore season 6, right? Like beat a dead dog or dead
There you
hound.
go. Beat a
Right?
dead hound.
Yeah. Anyways, it's update 56. Wanted to take a little bit of time to review this. Again, this is going to be kind of a lighter review because we're not going to review the archetypes because look, it doesn't matter how much time you give me. Like, it's going to be a couple years before I play all 3 archetypes probably. So,
Yeah, not full, but I do have one thing I want to say about
yeah.
Storm Singer. But you let me know when we get to the proper
Oh, let's
time to
talk.
do that.
Let's talk about as much as we want for archetypes.
Okay. Well, the only I haven't tried any of them. And there was only one. Well, I didn't have the dark.
Apostate.
Oh God, apostate. Yeah, I had no interest in the dark apostate at all whatsoever. The sacred fist kind of sort of had some interest to me because I was because I'm a monk player and I thought, well, maybe a monk paladin might be kind of cool. But the one that I was interested in, the one I had the most interest in was the Storm Singer, and I thought, wow, when I saw that they get, they got this thing called Lightning Strike, and it did all sorts of cool stuff with electricity and some sonic damage, and I thought, oh man, that would be cool. Let's say I combine that with, I don't know, I'm using Whelm, and I can single up and fight it with it, and so I can get a 19 to 20, Vorpal, and I'm going to doing all these big giant lightning strikes and all this sort of stuff. This would be cool to make that even better. And then so I'm starting to think about, oh, what my gearing choices? Am I going to get the Stormreaver gauntlets, or am I going to, do these other things? And what's going to be the best build for it? And I'm getting really super excited about it. I'm thinking, oh, this could be the ultimate, Sonic and Lightning, big hammer wielding dwarf kind of guy, or whatever. No, it doesn't work because the core abilities are only work for spells that the Storm Singer casts. Not Doesn't work for any of your melee stuff, or even your range stuff. I didn't care about the range stuff because that it doesn't the Whelm. I guess there is a range version of Whelm, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it was it was a complete deflation of my enthusiasm over Stormsinger. So it seems to be truly a spellcaster centered archetype, and I'm not a big giant spellcaster guy, so it essentially means nothing to me. So the only thing that I now have to possibly even consider is Sacred Fist, and I got to tell you, I've seen some of the reviews, heard some people talk about it, and they are not enthusiastic about it. And so I'm thinking, well, maybe we'll just let this one go by, and maybe they'll do better on some other archetypes.
It has been fun for me to kind of see which archetype people are most excited to play. Because there's been a couple. Apostate has not been super high, but like I've seen various people like Stormsinger and Sacred Fist have been like people have been really interested in both of those. So that's kind of fun. Like I love the concept. I love that here's some other build options. It's not taking away my heroic completionist by adding things, but you can get more past lives if you want them. Love that. I'm excited to see where they go for it. Or they go with it. I'm kind of interested in Stormsinger and Sacred Fist is kind of the one that I'm most interested in playing because it kind of caters to me a little the best. And I will be playing it and not too much longer with my current reincarnation build and stuff. It's got a decent past life. The other past life's less interesting to me, but less useful to me, I should say more concretely. But like the concept, excited for it. I will say, and this is kind of a weird thing. I know everyone does this. I am happy that none of these 3 are like suddenly the super bestest thing in the world.
Sure. Sure.
So I think I'm slightly encouraged by that in the sense that none of the 3 was released in a way that is like game-breakingly too good, and then they have to nerf it later. So I think there's a little bit of encouragement that they've learned a little bit of lesson there from some of the past stuff, times they've done new stuff like this. Having said that, maybe they could be a little better. Right? Like, not like I see
Yeah.
them running around in droves or anything. So there's that.
Nope. Fully agreed. I'd like to see the next batch of archetypes to, like you said, to be better.
Um, so let's talk about Temple of Elemental Evil, the revamp there. We ran it with Inca Splat. How do you have any kind of thoughts on that one?
I like the fact that they broke up the. I do like the fact that they broke up the nodes into individual quests. The upper level, the lower level of the temple itself. I thought those were all good moves. I didn't notice the lessening in the amount of monsters, but I guess the first time that we ran it, we didn't see those, and the second time, when we did the last two nodes, I honestly wasn't paying attention for mob size, maybe. So maybe it was less. It wasn't noticeable to me, frankly. And one of the things that, and this is just me because I so rarely run this, is I didn't realize that you couldn't get the little gems in each of the nodes so that you could put your elemental victory together. I think either you or Grubby pointed out that it was something that you get in the end chest now. It isn't something you can just find the parts of and then
Well, it was
put it
always
together.
the end chest.
Yeah, but you had to get the each of the individual elemental gems. They were placed in various random parts in the nodes, and you had to get all four of those
Right.
in order to actually get elemental victory for it to be in the chest, I think.
Yeah, it was a chest that only spawned if you did all 4 nodes, kind of a thing, as I recall. Yeah, so I like the breaks. They felt natural. It didn't feel out of whack or anything like that. Felt like the breakpoints felt fine. Um, it's and some of the minor changes they made I really liked. I didn't mind it was a little bit surprising when we did the first one, the upper level and the Earth Temple, that I had to go find these runes and go do both. I couldn't just run my normal path. Um, but so that was kind of a little bit of a surprise. The I really liked in the nodes that it gave you a not a map, but there was a way to know where to go
Yeah.
so that I really liked. A little hard to find some of the next ones occasionally.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know that they're really intending on you to de-door back to the beginning with that. So that mileage varied a little bit there, but I liked the guideposts, as it were. That was really nice. That was really good. The mob size is just still, even with the reduction there, it still suffers to me with the same problems of there's a ton of mobs. They're not diverse groups of mobs. I did really notice that they don't have very many hit points, even on legendary. Right? The bosses only had bosses had fewer hit points in here than you see in Stormhorns and other places. Just do not have many hit points. They went down pretty quick. But it still feels like a slog through a bunch of monsters.
Yeah.
And maybe
It feels a lot like Slave Lords. I agree.
Even I think it's actually worse than Slave Lords. And maybe that should I don't know if I can put a finger on why that is. But I feel like in Slave Lords, right, compared to the nodes, the area you're fighting in is changing all the time, right? You different.
Yes, the Slave
rooms.
Lord areas are very different from each
Yeah.
other. That's true.
The nodes, each node is very different from each other, but other than that, the nodes, when you're in that node, it feels the same the whole way through.
Yes. Yes.
I would actually rather they really cut down the mob sizes and put in a bunch of mini bosses. I think that would be more interesting. Like if each one of those, the waypoints you have to get to had a mini boss on it, and you just had fewer mobs to contend with. I think that would be a more interesting fight because they're all the same mobs in each node, right? Like once you're in a node, you're gonna fight the same thing over and over and over and over again. Go through
Air
the same
methods and
areas.
harpies.
Yeah, right. Because
Yay.
it's not diverse and interesting. Slave Lords at least is mostly diverse and interesting, right? Like you're fighting different things along the way. But I did think the Zugat Moy fight was a little easier. It still suffers from the same problem that the special attack that's gonna wipe your party. There's just not enough time to get to the mushroom, like
To
find
get
the
to the
mushroom and get
mushrooms,
there.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
just so the timing is just off on that, and it always has been. So
And of course, I think we mentioned earlier that change in the water node, that fight towards the end of the water node. I think that was certainly a welcome change.
I was a little confused. Like the end boss of each of the nodes was like drastically different.
Yeah,
Like it was an earth elemental, and then like a one of them was I think a dragon, and then a giants were the other ones.
yeah.
It's like pick a
Big
lane.
giant frost giant, I think. Yeah.
It just seems so weird that they were so different. I don't know if it's really a bad thing. I was just like really shocked. Like
Well, it would have been it would have been a completely unoriginal if, like, in the Earth node, you had to fight a big giant Earth elemental.
you
If in the
did
water mode, well, I mean, but if the end boss was essentially the
an
same in all
elemental.
ones, so like a
Eh.
big giant elemental of that type, I mean, that would have been kind of boring.
I mean, if I got a magic wand, we'd be fighting a dragon at the end of every one of those.
Sure, that makes sense. Why
I'm
not?
playing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm always looking at
Yeah.
time. Dragons are cool in DDO. Give me more dragons. Let's see. The you have any feedback on the actual bank like the new interface? You like it? Love it? Hate it?
The thing that I like is the fact that you can search, you
Yeah.
do search for stuff. I always appreciate that. I mean, you still can't do search. There's something you can't do search on still. Is that the TR cache? I can't remember.
You can search all of them now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, it's great. It's the best thing about it. I think my brain's still trying to process the idea that I can't place the items in their spot in the bank,
Yeah, you can't do that, and that's annoying because you
but I
don't
can
know where it
search it.
is.
Well, but you also have the tabs, right? Uh, like you have the tabs you can do that with. So
I guess I just haven't really played with the tabs enough to realize just
oh yeah, no,
their
I hear you.
potentiality. I mean, I obviously you could have a tab that's just weapons, or a tab for just you know uh, what do you call it, bracers or whatever, rings or something.
Yeah, you can do that now. So let's see. Anything else? I'm trying to think if there's anything else from the update. There's like wasn't a whole lot to the update, right? Like it was the archetypes, the Temple of Elemental Evil, and the bank stuff. I
Yeah,
guess
pretty
technically
much it.
Crystal Cove, but I like the changes
Oh,
to Crystal Cove.
the
But
cool thing. Oh, the cool thing. Couple of things cool in Crystal Cove. Some of the new items.
oh, the festive
Um,
strength augment.
this festive strength augment was
Yep,
probably the best thing,
yep.
and very expensive to get, but probably the best thing there. Another thing that really surprised me was the level 32, the spyglass. That was pretty cool. It actually
Nice.
gave you +6 insightful int, was cool, and something else that it did that that was better than the 28 version. I was pleasantly surprised by. So I thought that was a pretty cool trinket.
Yeah, I like the changes to Crystal Cove. I haven't run the event in years. But my only thing with the festive augment is like I think we should just like every event you should be able to get any of the festive augments. They should just be with all the events. Um, so like I don't understand. I'm not on board with the idea that you get the strength one from this one, the wisdom one from this one, the con one from this one. Like just make them all available.
That would be nice.
I don't see a value in. I mean, I know they're trying to pigeonhole me into running this content. Sure, fine, whatever. But like, make it
No,
better.
they would never do that, Patrick.
I know. Especially when some of them are like are there for longer periods of time than others, right? Like, so into that fun thing. All right, so we're gonna close out the show. Thanks, Arkat, for joining me tonight. Thanks for those who are hanging out. Yes, Delvinus, there are the Festival Diamonds of Strength +2 in Crystal Cove. So it's the only one, but it's also the only one that you couldn't get previously. Like I think every other one has been covered before. So thanks to Sanso Games, which is the host, and to Cybridge for hosting the podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website at DDOCast.com, or you can visit us on Patreon. You can hit us up at DDOCast.com for our show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff, including various adventures in DDO and D&D tabletop. If you have a comment on this episode, a question you'd like to hear us answer, a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, leave a comment or email us at DDOCast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media at DDOCast on Twitter is the best place. So until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.